Hey, curious cuties. Welcome to Curio City. I'm your host, Lauren Deliri, and today we're diving into the inspiring journey of Jasyra Santiago-Hines, a registered nurse turned social media influencer and CEO. From her early days in North Philadelphia to her transition from bedside nursing to entrepreneurship, Jasyra shares her passion for complete wellness and the transformative power of holistic healing. You'll discover how she balances motherhood, advocacy for mental health, and running her business while empowering women to lead lives by design. You'll gain insights into making healthier decisions for your family and yourself, and be inspired to embark on your own journey toward total body healing and wellness. So, I would love to know more about your journey from being a registered nurse to becoming a social media influencer and entrepreneur in this wellness space.
Okay, so this is a long story, so I'm gonna try to make it short. But okay, like we'll be here forever. I have a really long story. So I actually graduated to become a nurse in 2010. I got my first job as a med-surg nurse in 2011. I got burnt out so fast. Like the first year, I was just like, I'm so over this. I don't want to do this, and not in the fact that I didn't want to do nursing. I just knew med-surg wasn't going to be it. And even when I applied for that job, I knew I wasn't going to like it because I didn't love the clinicals when I did med-surg. So my first year, I was searching within the network, like, where can I go? I really wanted to go into the ICU, but I needed more experience. Throughout that time, I struggled with a lot of anxiety. I got diagnosed my senior year of nursing school with anxiety. So I was on medication. So the job just really gave me a lot of stress. But it opened the doors in trying to find better for myself, trying to get off of the anxiety medications because they were giving me every side effect in the sun that says on the side effect list. So not only was I just stressed out about, just nursing overall, trying to find myself, find a place that I liked. I was struggling a lot with anxiety and the medications weren't working. So I decided to find like natural stuff and I decided to lose weight. I was gaining a lot of weight working day shift, night shift, and I knew that contributed a lot to my stress and just overall like confidence overall. So I actually started a workout called Insanity. A lot of people probably know it with Shanti. And I started to get my confidence back. And I noticed that the better I ate, the more exercise I did, the more managed like my anxiety felt. And I was actually to successfully get off of anxiety medications on my own. I don't recommend that. Please talk to your doctor. But as me being a nurse and I was such on a low dose that I felt comfortable, getting off of it. So that's kind of how I started with the sharing my story on social media because I needed some type of like kind of outlet of sharing like my before and after pictures. When I did the Insanity class, I started sharing like, gym photos because I felt more comfortable. And I got asked to actually be a coach with Beachbody, and that is the creator of Insanity. And I was like, why not? I'm already sharing my journey. I was already sharing my before and afters. I was sharing this. I was using the supplements. So I said yes, and I became a Beachbody coach. You call them body partners now. I don't know. I'm so far away from that right now, but they're called something else now. But if you know Beachbody, so yeah, I became a Beachbody coach in 2013. And that's where my journey started, with just sharing on social media and kind of like getting myself out there. I worked so hard on the business that I was able to eliminate $72,000 of debt with like my nursing school loans. Wow. And in 2016 was when I decided I was going to peace out of nursing because it was already super stressful. But I was also in school to be a nurse anesthetist. So it wasn't like an easy decision because like, I had a lot going on and I wanted to be a nurse anesthetist, but I was like, do I really? Like, nursing is just it's just been really stressful. I tried different units. I wasn't happy. And I was like, I feel like this decision is only because I want to leave bedside. And I saw the opportunity on like thriving online and, being successful as a Beachbody coach. So I actually left nursing June of 2016. And then I did Beachbody for a good amount of years. I think I kind of like started wanting to do something on my own probably in 2018. And I started to teach people about anxiety and how to naturally help the anxiety, whether it was, different herbs, homeopathics, exercise, diet, stuff like that. And I dabbled in a lot of things. I feel like I'm a jack of all trades. I started to do like my own fitness challenges online. Like I used to host with Beachbody, and I became a like personal trainer, but I did it online. I have a podcast that I haven't really been doing too much of it, but I call myself like jack of all trades. I was just doing a lot of things, just trying to find what worked for me, what inspired me. I knew that I wanted to help people. I just didn't know like where that end result was. So it started with fitness, it started with nutrition, and then it was like anxiety. Then I was getting into like natural remedies and stuff like that. But I became pregnant in 2020, the craziest year to ever be pregnant. And, and that's what really pushed me to like do better with products and talking more about vaccines and researching. And I've had my own like medical scares of like being on birth control and getting every side effect of that. Like I just knew my body was just not meant for pharmaceuticals. So I've had a lot of things happen to me, which that's all in the in between of, being a nurse and leaving nursing. So like I've had a lot of like kind of health things, and it all contributed learning that it was just, pharmaceuticals. That's what caused it. So 2020 being pregnant, like I said, really opened my eyes, and like, you have to make a decision for like a little person, right? And that's opened me into like, I need to make sure that I'm using the best things for her. And I really need to look up, these vaccines, because I actually I got the chickenpox vaccine and ended up with the chickenpox. I got the flu shot and ended up with the flu. Like it just all didn't make sense. I was like, okay, this is the time where I need to research. So I really researched a ton during my pregnancy. I was supposed to have a natural birth at a birthing center. I was doing all the right things, but I actually ended up getting COVID, and I didn't even know I had COVID because I felt fine.
Wow.
Like I just had a stuffy nose. I didn't even have literally just a stuffy nose. And that is the only symptom that I had. I was 34 weeks pregnant. I went to my 34-week appointment, and they're like, Jasyra, your blood pressure is a little high. Like, how do you feel? And I'm like, fine. I literally worked out before going to that appointment. So like, I couldn't understand. I'm like, I feel great. Like, and they're like, your blood pressure is a little elevated. It was like maybe 130 over 80, which is high for me. But it's not like crazy high, but they're like, let's check your labs and see what's going on. And then they checked my labs and seen that I actually, my liver enzymes were elevated. So basically preeclampsia. So COVID actually caused my placenta to stop functioning and caused the preeclampsia. Gosh. So I had to be admitted to the hospital, which that really upset me because I wanted a natural birth, right? So, I got admitted to the hospital, and then they said, if we don't induce you now, your daughter's going to die. And that's basically what they said. So I feel like all my knowledge and everything went out the door because I was so fearful, and I was like, I didn't want to do it, but I just didn't have the confidence in like saying, hey, maybe we should wait, or just hearing that your daughter might die. That was just like, okay, I'll do whatever possible to make sure that she's fine. So I said yes to everything, every medical decision, every whatever they Pitocin, Cytotec, you name it. I said yes to everything just because I wanted her to be alive and safe. And I felt horrible. Like I just felt like everything that they were giving me, I was like feeling it. So they had me on a magnesium drip. And if you know about magnesium, is a relaxer. So they were trying to make sure that my blood pressure remained stable so that I didn't have any seizures. And I was losing like my eyesight. Like my magnesium was so high that I was losing my eyesight. And I kept telling them like, I can't see. Like
wow.
I'm literally like my vision was blurry. And I had to tell them, like, you know, being a nurse, I'm like, can you check my magnesium level? Like, they're like, and you kept giving me the workaround. And I can't complain about the care because I did have good nurses. I did have good doctors, but nurses get so busy. And I know it because I've been a nurse. I've been an ICU nurse. And I just kept telling her, like, you know, please request a lab draw. Please check the lab draw. Finally did, and I seen her come into my room, and I seen her lower the pump, and I knew exactly. I'm like, my magnesium was way too high, like, and it makes me sad because a lot of people don't have that knowledge, and it could be someone who wasn't a nurse and experienced that. So when I say that I get the side effects of every single thing, I do, and I feel it, and I'm like really intuitive with that. But thankfully, Zoe was delivered successfully, and there was nothing wrong with her. She was 4 pounds, 2.6 ounces. She could breathe on her own. She was able to eat on her own, which is not very like, it's not very common for a 34-weeker to be able to do all the things that she was doing on day one. And I was a NICU nurse too. So it's like, so when they told me I was going to have a 34-weeker, I started crying even more because I remember my 34-weekers and they were in the NICU for months. And I'm like, you know, it was really hard, but she came out and she was fine. She didn't even have COVID. So they were like, you know, they were really scared that she was going to have COVID. She was completely fine. She was actually discharged 10 days after I delivered her. She was great, but Mama was struggling. Mama was struggling. My blood pressure was still high. It actually elevated even more after I delivered her. And I was just really having bad symptoms from the blood pressure medications that were giving me. I was having tingling in my head. I was having a lot of things. And I had great midwives that they called me every single day and, you know, started titrating my blood pressure medications. And I was able to get off the blood pressure medications, but they had me on temporarily having like anxiety medication because they said that my anxiety was causing my blood pressure to be high. So I was like, okay, like I know that can happen. So I was like, in my head, I was like, I can get off this because I've got off of it before, right? So I was like, no big deal. I just want to get off these blood pressure medications and then I could get myself off of these anxiety medications. So I got off the blood pressure medications and I was feeling, you know, a little bit more of myself. And I decided to try to get off the anxiety medication by myself because I did it before. So I tried it, and like day 2, I was nauseous. I was dizzy. Like I was like, okay, maybe I should talk to a doctor. So I did talk to the doctor, started retaking it, and then they put me on this like titration. Was like, I was on the lowest dose. So they're like, oh, every other day you can take it. I started doing that. Within a week, I started getting tingling in my hands and my feet, burning in my head. I actually went to the ER. I could probably say like 5 different times. And they were like, you're just having anxiety attacks. Like you're just depressed. It's postpartum anxiety depression. And I'm like, this is not that. What are you like? They were treating me like crap. And I'm like, I am a nurse and I'm not an idiot. Like I'm not an idiot. If I was having a panic attack, I wouldn't have tingling in my hands and my feet this entire time. I've had it for days. Right. So I was beyond frustrated with Western medicine. I was also obviously seeing holistic, practitioners as well at the same time, just trying to get some help. And I felt like anything I did, it just got worse. Like if I tried a supplement, I remember trying the omega because they're like, oh, these omegas are going to be good for your body. It's going to help your brain, blah, blah, blah. I tried the omegas and my body was burning even more. So I was like terrified. I entered Facebook groups of these medications that I was on, and it was like these withdrawal groups, and it was like, you're going through withdrawal, like you're going through withdrawal with this medication. And I'm like, how? I was on it literally for like 2 weeks. I wasn't even on it for too long. I wasn't even taking it a ton. I was taking it as needed, as it said. And I was reading all these like posts about people who have been suffering with these symptoms for years, and all these things that were happening with people with these medications.
Now,
and
was it the combo of the medications, or was it like
that's the one thing, is that I was on so many. I was on so many. So I can't say. People always ask me like, what was it? And I'm like, I really can't say, because I had COVID, and then I went into the hospital and they gave me Pitocin, Cytotec, like magne, like, my body, and it's like when you have COVID, your body is already like inflamed, and then I'm postpartum. So it's like that's going on. And then, so I can't really say, but when I went into those Facebook groups, I was like, these people are literally experiencing all the symptoms that I've experienced. But I felt like mine was even worse because of everything, like the combination that I was getting. So that's why, like, when people ask me, like, what was it? I'm like, I really can't say, because it's just like, it could have been anything. Because if you look up the side effects of, Pitocin, it can give you tingling. So it's like, I don't know what it was. But these Facebook groups really made me even more depressed. My symptoms were getting worse. I'm struggling as a mom. My daughter is only, she was 2 months when my symptoms started. And I remember it was February of 2021 is when my symptoms started. And that was the tingling in the hands and the feet. And like, that's when they said I was having panic attacks. So it was like really struggling trying to like be a new mom, breastfeed her at the same time, because I wasn't on any medications currently. And I don't know how I survived it, but those Facebook group posts is what made me into like a deeper depression. I read this one comment from this lady and said that she had burning in her head for 10 months. And I clicked on her page, and then I didn't see anything after that. So it was like, what happened to her? Like, there's no update. And those things, like reading those things that people have been suffering for years, is actually what put me into much deeper depression. And I actually attempted to take my life, because I was like, I don't want to go through this for 9 months. Like, how can I be the best mom if I'm struggling? Like, I couldn't take her a bath. My husband was literally doing everything for her. I felt like I was a burden. I was like, I have to be another person you have to take care of. And I don't want that. So thankfully, grace of God, like my husband saved me. And he literally says that Zoe saved me, because she actually cried way before that she needed her bottle. And then he found me, saved me. I actually spent one day in the psych ward, and I finally actually had a doctor that listened to me. And he was like, you were harmed by these medications. It was finally somebody actually listened to me. Because prior to that, when I went to, that accident happened, my husband, the ambulance came to pick me up, and I got the worst treatment at that ICU. I was in an ICU local to Philadelphia, and they treated me like I was a drug addict. They said everything was in my head, and they refused testing. I was like, can you do a CT scan? Like, my head burns. Like, can you? And they refused everything. They just treated me like I was a nutcase. And I just, like, my heart went out to like all my old patients. Like, I was the best nurse, but I'm thinking, like, how did these doctors treat them? And I was just thinking, like, this is crazy. But when I went to the psych ward, the doctor actually was like, yeah, this is actually very common. And he was like, you've had COVID, you just had a baby, your body is actually very in like a crazy spot, and then add on all these medications, like, your feelings are validated, your symptoms are validated. I'm not going to put you on anything because you're super sensitive. So it's like, as long as you don't want to, take your life again, I'm going to send you home. So he sent me home, and after that, I literally I got off social media for months. I think it was probably 5 months. I stood off social media. I literally just took care of my daughter and tried to do as much as I could, take her a bath, all the things that I couldn't do before, regardless of how I felt. I pushed myself to do it. And I think of it now like it's crazy. I was bathing her with a burning head. My heart was palpitating. My blood pressure was high. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to do everything for her. And after about 5 months of suffering and not asking for help because I was afraid of the help, because if I tried a supplement, I felt worse. If I tried this, I felt worse. So I decided I was like, I'm just going to let these symptoms do whatever. And I'm just going to keep going about my day. Each month, I felt like I was getting a little bit better. And then I reached out to a few practitioners, and I've been working with practitioners ever since. So I'm still suffering from symptoms today. But I am much better than I am, that I was 3 years ago. Yesterday was actually my 1-year anniversary of my suicide attempt.
Oh, wow.
And
yesterday was your anniversary of the 3 year or 1 year?
3 year. Okay. 3 year. It was 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 years ago. And I would say every year I feel a little bit better. So I'm having hope that I will 100% feel better soon, hopefully.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that's my crazy long story.
No, thank you so much for sharing all that, because I really think that each of those kind of seasons for you is so pinnacle and really points to everything that you've become now today, and you are still becoming. So I really appreciate you going into everything in such detail, and obviously vulnerability, because you never know what type of what person is listening and hears and can relate, and you can pull them out of that a dark place just by hearing somebody who you can relate to. So thank you for sharing your story. I know that's really hard, and there's just so many things I want to even say to you from your story. First of all, I can relate to being very sensitive. A lot of my issues that I've had in the past have been caused by Western medicine, but combinations of things. I was on acid reflux, something or another, and an antibiotic for skin stuff, and it essentially gave me colitis for a year. And then I've had other things for whatever, just different things. I'm very sensitive. Everything, I can take the tiniest amount of anything, caffeine even, and I'm just I'm very sensitive. So I just think some people are built differently in that way. And I think it is a beautiful thing, because we just live so much more in alignment with ourselves and with nature and with homeopathy and things like that. I love it, but it does kind of come at a cost in a world where Western medicine is pushed on us, and there's times where it saved lives, but other times where it's cost lives and almost cost lives. And I think that's important to recognize. And yeah. And then the other thing you mentioned, you're a jack of all trades. That's something here on the podcast we talk about. Almost everyone who comes on who's a guest, I somehow just fall in love with people who feel that way about themselves. That's what I love. So anyone who's multifaceted, who say that they work multiple, have had multiple careers, or wear multiple hats, I'm welcome. this is what we do. I personally am that way as well. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, and very relatable as far as who you are as a person and kind of where you've landed.
You're welcome. I feel although it's really hard to talk, and actually I could have been bursting out crying right now, because I typically, when I share that, I am I was trying to hold my cry. I was I don't want to ugly cry. But it's a part of my story. And I feel it really, although such a traumatic experience, and I wish I didn't experience it, it is why I am who I am today, and why I share what I share. I always wanted to share more natural remedies and teach people about, ingredients and stuff like that. But I actually felt like I was going to look like a weirdo. Like, a lot of people there's a lot of trolls on social media, and I just wasn't sure if I was ready to like go into the non-toxic space. But after that, after what happened to me, I felt like I had no choice. I had no choice but to change everything, even for myself. Although I changed a lot, there was still things that I needed to change for myself. So it was a huge, crazy situation, but it is who I am. Like, that's why I am who I am and what I post. And I just feel like my story, if it can save one person because they feel like they're not alone, I feel like it's really important to share it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. And when you went offline for a while, is that when you switched from, or had you switched earlier from like your more fitness account to wellness, or when did that kind of switch over?
So I took from February to July off, I believe. I think July is when I signed into my Instagram. And actually, I was like, there was something like a band or something. I actually couldn't get into my account. Like, I tried to sign in and it was like, you did something, you violated something. And I'm like, what did I violate? I haven't been on for months. So I actually had to like recover my account. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to take a break again. Like, that was like, I'm never going to take a break again, because I didn't have a huge following like I have now, but I think I had probably like 17,000, which is still a lot. Like,
you don't want to lose that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to start over. So I emailed Instagram so many times, like every minute I was like, send. I must have annoyed them that I got my account within 24 hours. And that's like not known. Good. Like, people don't get their account that fast. So I did get my account I got my account back, and then I just, started posting about my daughter.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, I got back and I had tons of messages like, where are you? Like, what happened? Because I was gone. And I just like, my first post was literally my daughter. I just shared like, she's this many months. I think it's like 7 months. And I've been struggling. And I shared a little bit about what happened to me, but not fully, just because I was really not ready. And the biggest thing that bothered me at the time was, a lot of women are like, oh, I went through it. Like, they would say like, oh, I've had postpartum depression. I've had that. And that's why I didn't want to share it, because I felt like, I get it. Like, I get women want to be relatable and say like they've experienced it and whatever, but they didn't know my story. They didn't know what I've been doing. Like, in my head, honestly, those comments like infuriated me. Like, it would make me so mad, because I'm like, I wish I had postpartum
like, we're not
depression.
The same.
Like, I wish, I'm like, it's not like, I get you're trying to be relatable and like, I get it. You've been through something, because postpartum depression, anxiety is not fun, but I'm like, that's not what I went through. So I kind of tried to hide a lot of like what happened to me, just because of those type of comments. But a lot of was just like posting my daughter, posting that I walked today. And then I just did a switch. Like, maybe it was like a month in or 2 months in that I was like, let me just try it. And I would do like every other post was like a non-toxic post, but I didn't like fully go into it. So it took a couple months to like fully go into it. But I was like introducing people with like one graphic at a time, and then it would just be all Zoe, or like what Zoe was doing as like activities with Zoe, and like trickle in the non-toxic stuff. And then one day I was like, you know what? F it. I'm just going to post it all. And then I did. So maybe it was like a couple months after I came back, I switched it.
Okay. Well, that's so funny. Like, I can imagine you were just so passionate about everything, like all the non-toxic things, that you were just like, okay, let's just go full force into this. And it seems obviously here you are today, like people picked up on it and they were all for it. So I guess you made the right choice. And you still include your daughter. Like, she's in your posts, and like you're making things like, also if you're like, if you have a toddler, if you have like a baby, like you have like on Amazon, you have like a baby registry, like ideas, and like you have kind of your lived experience of like how old she is, like you're giving recommendations. So
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of people are getting really good information from you for all different stages of life.
Yeah, because literally my posting does go with where I am in my season.
Right.
So yeah, and I get a lot of people want to see more of Zoe, and I go like, back and forth because of how crazy social media can be. But I also like, I know that if I see like other creators that share their kids, I learn from that too. So, if someone says, "Oh, can I see Zoe more?" or "Can I, like, what activities are you doing with her?" then I'll like, add her more into it. People love her.
No, she's the cutest. So I definitely see why people want more of her. She's so cute.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so I want to know some like key principles that you advocate for when making healthier decisions with food, medications, and like everyday products.
So I am not 100% perfect, and I don't preach perfect. In this toxic world, you cannot be perfect. So my biggest no's are definitely dyes. I stay away from dyes. I stay away from titanium dioxide. Like there's a few ingredients that I'm like, this is an absolute no. And when I say it's an absolute no, like if I'm traveling, I try to keep those type of standards. And with when it comes to like sickness or anything that's going on in our bodies, it's always natural first. Always natural. I try everything in my head. I'll research something. Like thankfully Zoe hasn't had like anything. Like there's nothing that, other than like a small little cold here and there.
She's a healthy girl.
I haven't. She's so healthy. She's so healthy because people are like, she hasn't had a UTI or I'm like, no, she hasn't had none of that stuff. So, as natural, like I said, always natural first. If I ever need to use Western medicine, it has to be whether, it is a crazy emergency, has to be an emergency, or I've exhausted all the natural things. And then I'm like, okay, it's time to enter Western medicine. I feel like that's like, those are my principles when it comes to food, is trying to be as clean as possible as I can in my home. Anything that enters my house has to be, no dyes. I can't say 100% seed oil free because there are things that I do enjoy that has a few seed oils, but I've learned more about organic seed oils, the differences between organic and non-organic. So like say Simple Mills, I'll enjoy Simple Mills crackers that has sunflower oil, but it's a different type of sunflower oil. So it's less processed. But when I go out, that's when I'm a little bit more lenient. We like to, go out to restaurants and eat. And I think of 80-20. I'm all 80-20. 80% of the time I'm doing everything that I need to do is right. And then 20% is like my little fun. If I want to have like my thing is Hooters. I don't know if anyone has ever went to Hooters.
That's so funny.
There's something about those chicken wings that I love their chicken wings. And I refuse to look up the ingredients because I know there's nothing good about Hooters. But it's my happy place when, sometimes I get a little stressed out. I'm like, babe, can we just go to Hooters? I just want to have some wings.
When did the love for Hooters begin? Like what era of your life were you like in school? Like I need to know.
It was in college, but I didn't fall in love just yet. So my husband took me to Hooters one time, and it was that he wasn't my husband at the time. He was my boyfriend at the time. And he took me to Hooters because there was a fight. Like he used to love watching boxing fights. And I don't remember like who it was, but that's when I tried their wings for the first time. And I was like, oh, this is good. But I think it was back in like when I started to exercise, like back in like 2013 is when there was a Hooters that was built like very close to my house. And that's when my addiction started. It was like every Saturday I would go to Hooters, and it was so much that my husband was like, do we really need to go to Hooters again?
So funny.
And I'm like, yeah.
I love that.
I took a huge break from Hooters, but very recently it was like, we moved here in New Jersey, and then there's like a Hooters like 30 minutes from me. And I was like, let's go visit Hooters. I haven't had it in a while. And I'm like, my husband's like, have you looked at the ingredients? And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I just want to enjoy some wings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so funny. I have heard that they have amazing wings. I've never been to Hooters, but I love chicken wings. So you're making me feel like I need to hit it up. I know it's not what you would like, recommend for everybody, but
Yeah, no.
I gotta try it at some point.
We gotta live. Yeah, we got to live and have fun. I feel like if you try to be perfect with every aspect of your life, you're going to drive yourself crazy. You're going to cause a lot of stress. You're going to feel overwhelmed. And in the end, you're not going to even want to be in this lifestyle if you do that. So, enjoy what you want to enjoy here and there, as long as it's not every day, weekly, or whatever. But yeah, if you want to give Hooters a try, give Hooters a try.
That's amazing. I love that. I love the balance. Okay. And you did talk a little bit about like how you set yourself, you had a lot of debt, and a lot of people think about when it comes to living healthy, and like it takes a lot of money to live healthy, or like, whatever. So I do kind of want to touch on that. Because I do think there are ways to like budget. You've made videos on like, the grocery hauls in places like in Target, in Trader Joe's, at Costco. What are some others that you've done?
Aldi.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Aldi. How do you say it?
Aldi. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not. I think it's like.
I did the dollar store too.
Yes, that's right. I saw that. Yeah. Anyway, and I think that's so you really are making things accessible for everybody, the information at least, and that's like that's all you can do for everybody else. And everybody has a different level of like where they're at in their budget. But I did want to talk about that because since you eliminated a significant amount of debt, I'm wondering if you have advice for people who are looking to pursue that financial freedom while following their passions. I know it's like kind of a side tangent, but I do think it's like really impressive how you did that. And I think a lot of people can like really look up to it.
Absolutely. I love to share it because a lot of people do live in debt, and I want to, tell you that it's so possible to be debt free, and it's so amazing. Although I'm not debt free again, like I have a mortgage and I just got a pool, but I'm going to go through the whole process of being debt free again. So what inspired me to tackle my debt was Dave Ramsey. So he has a book called Total Money Makeover. And Beachbody actually encouraged me to read that. I actually watched this girl that used to work for Beachbody. She cut up all her credit cards, and she was live on a video on Facebook, and she was making her last payment to her school loans. And that video inspired me. She said what book she read, which was A Total Money Makeover. I bought that book immediately after watching that live. And I applied every principle that he said in that book. I was a big saver. And somewhere in that book was like, why are you saving if you're in debt?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is so right. So I tackled a big portion of like my savings, and I put it on there. And then everything that I made with Beachbody, it's called like the snowball effect. I was putting as much as I could to that loan, and then it was gone. Like it went, I feel like it went pretty fast because I had a side hustle. So I feel like if you really want to eliminate that, you have to figure out, how can I make more money? Whether it's selling your clothes, or, using your passions, DIY, I don't know, clean someone's house, like however you can make a little bit more income, or even social media makes a little bit easier for you to like make some money online. It's not easy, but it's more like easier accessible to be able to like make money online. But yeah, that's how I did it. I always say Dave Ramsey was like the person that I needed at the time. I really love the principles. He's very outdated now. Like there are things that I'm like, oh, that's really outdated, but that for sure is what inspired me, watching that person and reading that book, and
kickstarted you,
and making extra money and just putting all that money in there versus saving it.
Love that. Good advice, by the way. Okay. And I love following you on Instagram and like your stories too, because there's a lot of things that you post and that's made into your posts. And but then there's also your story. I mean, we all have like kind of a different vibe versus story versus post. And I love when you're posting like you wearing like the castor oil and the red light, and like you're just so like you're just all living like a woo woo girly kind of like self-care routine. And so I mean, I love it. It's amazing. Castor oil is awesome. Red light's awesome. It's stuff that I know about, and yeah, I'm really appreciative of. But I was wondering if you could tell like any other like practices or just some insights on things like that you've implemented that are kind of like more routine, whether it's like more fitness or mental health, or like a routine or practice that you've implemented.
Okay, so I do a lot of things, but I don't do it every single day because being a mom and just like being exhausted, I feel like I'm never doing enough. And I'm never like, I want to be more routine, but I noticed that being a toddler mom or just being a mom overall, I used to be like a very A-type person, and I can't be can't be an A-type person anymore. But some things that I do try to do weekly, or even, you know, even if it's monthly, it feels great that I'm like, oh, I did that this month, so it's good. So the castor oil packs for sure is something that I like to do weekly. I try to do 3 times a week. The red light therapy I try to do every night, but it doesn't happen every night. So when I'm doing the castor oil packs, I know that it's red light therapy for my face. So let's say 3 times. 3 times a week, I try to do both of those, but I also have a loom box, and I have like that big red light panel. The loom box I do every night, because I still have tingling in my hands and my feet. So I like to lay down, watch a show, and put the loom box on my feet or put it on my hands. So I do that every single day. And then I also do the panel. I'll just turn it on and lay in the bed. So I do a lot of red light therapy because there's a lot of benefits to like healing the mitochondria and all that. And I'm like, whatever you can heal inside me is great. So I do that. I feel like magnesium, even though we're not talking about like practices, supplements, magnesium is like, I have to do that every single day.
But not too much where you can't see.
Not too much. I don't even think because it was IV. It was a very different type of experience with magnesium. And who knows, it probably wasn't all magnesium, because like, you know how they say the vitamin K shot is just vitamin K, and I'm sure it wasn't more than just magnesium. I do have an acupressure mat by the Prana mat that helps with like my back pain, lymphatic drainage. I have a PEMF mat that I like to do. I should be doing weekly, but I just forget. So I try to do it monthly. I have that. I do have a sauna blanket because there's so many benefits to the
Which
sauna.
Which brand do you have?
And I have Higher Dose, but also Bond Charge is also great too. What else do I have? I would say those are my top practices that I make sure like to try to do. And then you know, skincare and like those type of things.
Right. I mean, you gotta carve out a little bit of time for yourself. Like you said, you're a mother and you're a business owner. Like you're doing all this like yourself. Like you're the researcher, you're the poster, you're the content creator. Like it's all you.
Thank you. I'm really hard on myself because like every single day I'm just like, I'm not doing enough. And then, you know, you guys, my followers remind me like, Jasyra, like, are you kidding me? You just did a few, like you did videos. Like that was a lot today. Like you did a lot. And I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm doing enough because like, you know, being a mom is my priority. I don't have a nanny. I am literally doing it all. I just hired, you know, someone to help me with my graphics, but I am so A-type that I still have to go back, look at those graphics, fix something, change out a graphic or something like that. So it's like, I just feel like I'm still doing it. But yeah, I'm the person behind everything. Like my husband does help me do certain videos that are on my feed, but that's like one a month or something like that. So yeah, thank you. Cause I'm just so hard on myself, but I'm like literally doing it all.
No, girl, we see you. We know that like it's you. And like, I think it's amazing that what you're doing. And, you just said you added a graphic designer to kind of help you. That's good. Is there any other things that we can kind of look forward to, like as far as within your own business? It's you, like you are the business. Is there things that you're looking forward to implementing or adding in the like future that we can kind of look forward to?
So I am coming out with non-toxic shirts. I actually have one right now. Non-toxic shirts and totes and hats. I am working on my natural remedies ebook. I actually did release one like 2 years ago or maybe, but I updated it. So I'm going to be releasing that. And then in the near future, I actually would love to create my own product. I don't know what it is yet because there's so many things that I would love to make. But yeah, I would love to have something that I could call my own and like I feel like very similar to like how Carlin from Just Ingredients, she finds like a product that she can't find herself and she creates it herself. And that's kind of how I want to do. Like, I want to be her.
Oh, I love that. Okay. That's amazing. That's a lot to look forward to. So I'm very excited. So everyone can stay tuned for that. And I like to ask everybody this at the end of our conversations, because this is a podcast centered around curiosity. I want to know what role curiosity plays in your life.
Great question. I feel like I'm curious about everything. That's why I research everything. I always tell parents, question everything, everything. So life overall is curious to me, and I just love to learn. So yeah, overall, I'm just always curious about everything, and I like to research it and yeah, that's just a part of me.
I feel you. I totally feel you. Well, perfect. Thank you so much for being on. Go ahead and like shout out like where people can find you and get connected with you.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. And I don't typically do a lot of like interviews just because I still struggle with anxiety. So, it still makes me like nervous. So, thank you for inviting
you did great.
me.
And you wouldn't even know you're nervous. You did so good.
Thank you. You guys can actually find me on all social medias, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, is I am Jasyra. I'm also on YouTube, and I have a Facebook group. If you are wanting to learn non-toxic, the lifestyle, you have questions, you need natural remedies, I do have a Facebook group as well. It's the I Am Jasyra Community Holistic RN. You can find me there too.
Okay, amazing. Well, I'll make sure I link everything in the show notes so people can find you. Again, thank you so much for being on today. And thank you all for listening. We love you guys. Stay curious. And until next time, bye.